I thought the man craven, but the day he confronted Aerys, he found some courage somewhere. He did all he could to dissuade him. He reasoned, he jested, he threatened, and he finally begged. When all that failed, he took off his chain of office and flung it down on the floor. Aerys burnt him alive for that, and hung the chain on the neck of Rhaegar, his favourite pyromancer. Jaime Lannister to Brienne of Tarth, A Storm of Swords, Chapter 37, Jaime 5. The timeline of events towards the last few weeks and months of Robert's Rebellion, especially in terms of the Loyalists and House Targaryen, is a little vague due to most surviving sources coming from the rebels. What we can say is this, that after the Battle of the Bells and the resulting exile of the Hand of the King, Jon Connington, King Aerys II Targaryen would start to take the threat of the rebels a lot more seriously than he had done up until this point. He did 3 key things during the next few weeks. Firstly, he named Lord Carlton Chelstead as the new Hand of the King to replace the short-lived Connington in the role. Carlton has served as Master of Coin for much of Aerys' later reign, and after the sacking of Owen Merryweather as Hand, found himself as one of the very few members of the Small Council left. Thus, with the sacking of Connington as Hand, Carlton was one of the very few men Aerys had left to choose from. Despite that, however, many who remember Carlton suggest that under a different king, in a different time, he probably had the ability to make a respectable Hand of the King. Secondly, the Battle of the Bells was a huge loss for the Loyalists, not just missing the opportunity to kill Robert Baratheon, but the sheer loss of men at the battle itself. At this time, the Targaryen army was nothing to laugh at, but of the houses that had declared for Aerys, they were miles away, spread across the realm, while the rebels were converging and forming one huge army. Mace Tyrell had the strength of the Reach, but he was sieging Storm's End, and the Dornish had yet to leave the Red Mountains, with Aerys sending Lewin Martell of the Kingsguard to ensure the Dornish marched soon, using Princess Elia Martell as a veiled threat towards Prince Doran in Sunspear. This meant, for the time being at least, Aerys and the Targaryen forces of the Crownlands were on their own, with no sign of Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, the very man who had started this war. Thus, Aerys sent Sir Barristan Selmy and Sir Jonathan Darry of the Kingsguard back to Stony Sept to rally what remained of Jon Connington's broken army. Finally, the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, Sir Gerald Hightower, was sent south to locate Prince Rhaegar Targaryen and return him back to King's Landing with or without the kidnapped Lyanna Stark. Sir Gerald did locate Rhaegar in the Red Mountains of Dorne near the Prince's Pass, at a place Rhaegar had called the Tower of Joy, as the prince did indeed return to the city. But oddly, Sir Gerald remained at the Tower of Joy. Sir Oswell Went and Sir Arthur Dane of the Kingsguard, who had been with Rhaegar at the Tower of Joy, also stayed behind. It is speculated it was to guard Lyanna Stark. Why she needed 3 members of the Kingsguard, including the Lord Commander, to protect her is something we will never know the truth of. But, and for many is one of the biggest mysteries of Robert's Rebellion, it is assumed that Rhaegar himself gave the order. You are not old enough to have known Aerys Targaryen. Aerys was mad and cruel. No one has ever denied that. But he was still king, crowned and anointed. You had sworn to protect him. I know what I swore. Jaime Lannister and Brienne of Tarth, A Storm of Swords, Chapter 11, Jaime 2. Knowing that his position was a weak one, King Aerys II Targaryen's erratic madness only deepened. Fearing that the rebels could now march on King's Landing near on unopposed, King Aerys ordered the Alchemists' Guild and his pyromancers, with their leader, Wisdom Rosard, to increase its production of wildfire and place huge caches of the liquid around the city of King's Landing. It was Aerys' intent that should the city fall to the rebels, that the wildfire be lit, and the city and the Red Keep burned to nothing but ash. If he could not hold the city, then no one would have it. Upon discovering this plot, Lord Carlton Chelstead, the Hand of the King, confronted Aerys, and when he realised the king could not be dissuaded from this path, he resigned his position of Hand in disgust on the spot, taking off his chain of office and throwing it at the king's feet. Aerys had him burned alive for this, but Caldon kept his honour and is remembered as the last voice of reason within the Red Keep. The Alchemists Guild had enjoyed royal favour ever since the defiance of Duskendale, owing to the king's obsession with wildfire. So Aerys appointed the head of the guild, Wisdom Rosat, as his final hand, a man who would indulge the worst of King Aerys Targaryen. It's very easy during this complex timeline to forget some of the other key figures who were a part of it. When Aerys gave a man to the flames, Queen Rhaella would have a visitor in the night. Jaime Lannister's thoughts, A Feast for Crows, Chapter 16, Jaime 2. In the later years of the marriage of King Aerys and Queen Rhaella, the Mad King's insanity set in deeply. While the relationship had always been cold and unwanted, it only became more strained as Aerys became more mentally broken after the defiance of Duskendale. According to Sir Barristan Selmy, Rhaella did her best to protect the young Prince Viserys Targaryen from the worst of his father's excesses, keeping her child oblivious to the fact Aerys was slipping deeper into madness. According to Sir Jaime Lannister of the Kingsguard, who is often the Kingsguard Knight assigned to protect Rhaella and Viserys, Rhaella's eyes had been closed for years by that time. By the time that Aerys had ordered the wildfire placed all over King's Landing, it had become widely known in the years since the rebellion that Aerys grew sexually abusive towards Rhaella, developing a fetish for fire and death, and only sleeping with his wife after he had executed someone by burning. The last time this was done was during the rebellion, and after Aerys had burned Lord Carlton Chelstead. Again, the statements of Jaime Lannister recall listening outside Rhaella's bedchamber as she cried as the king abused her. When Jaime protested that the Kingsguard was sworn to defend the queen as well, his sworn brother, Sir Jon Thordarry, replied, "We are, but not from him." The queen's maids reported seeing scratches, bruises and bite marks all over her body. It is believed it was this event witnessed by Jaime Lannister after the burning of Lord Carlton that resulted in the conception of Princess Daenerys. But it was now time for the final attempt of House Targaryen to beat the rebels in the field. With Prince Rhaegar now back in King's Landing, he would lead the Loyalist army to face the rebels in a battle that would change the fate of Westeros forever, the Battle of the Trident.